High school, a place of memories, friendships, and hidden nightmares. What if the whispers in the hallways were real? Tonight we uncover 4 terrifying stories that will make you question everything. Are you brave enough to hear them? Story 1. The Shadow in the Locker Room. My high school had an old locker room tucked behind the gymnasium. On weekends, my friends and I would often stay late after school to practice and hang out there. Normally, the place was quiet and uneventful until one late afternoon in November. We had just finished our practice, the sky was already dark, and the lighting in the locker room was dim. As we were chatting, one of my friends, Anne, suddenly fell silent, his eyes fixed on the far end of the room. I asked him what he was staring at, and he quietly pointed toward the corner, whispering, "Do you see that shadow?" We all turned, and sure enough, there was a faint dark figure standing at the end of the locker room, seemingly watching us. At first, we thought it was just a trick of the light. But the strange thing was, every time we glanced back, the shadow seemed to get closer, little by little. No one dared to go near it to check, and joked that it was the ghost of a student who had died at the school. A week later, it was just Anne and me staying late after practice. Once again, we saw the shadow. This time, we decided to approach it. But as we moved closer, the shadow vanished, and at the same moment, all the lights went out. The locker room was plunged into complete darkness. My heart pounded in my chest, and I felt a creeping sense that someone or something was standing right next to us. We heard soft footsteps coming from the far end of the room. "Is someone there?" I yelled, but no one answered. When we tried to leave, we found the door was locked from the outside. We banged on the door and screamed, but it wouldn't open. After about 10 minutes, the lights flickered back on, and the door unlocked on its own. The police came to investigate but found no one and nothing unusual. After that, we never stayed late in the locker room again. But rumors still swirl that the shadow lingers, waiting for anyone brave or foolish enough to stay after dark. Story 2. The Mysterious Bell. When I transferred to this high school, people often told me about the strange things that happened after dark. The school was old, dating back over 100 years, with crumbling hallways and eerie, unused rooms. I didn't believe any of it, not until one night when I stayed late in the library to finish some homework. It was already dark outside, and only a few other students remained. As I focused on my work, I suddenly heard a faint bell ringing in the distance. It wasn't the usual school bell, but a soft melodic chime echoing through the empty halls. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but the bell kept ringing every few minutes, and soon I couldn't ignore it. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to follow the sound. I walked down the long, dark hallways of the school, guided by the persistent ringing. Eventually, it led me to a locked door at the end of the hallway. A small plaque on the door read, "Room 302, closed since 1990. I peered through the narrow gap in the door and saw an old ledger sitting on the desk inside. The date on the open page was the day a girl named Lynn had gone missing, exactly 10 years ago. A chill ran down my spine. At that moment, the bell rang again, this time right behind me. I turned, but the hallway was empty. The next day, I told the teachers about what I'd heard and seen, but they said room 302 had been locked up for years, following the mysterious disappearance of a student. No one could explain the bell or why I had seen that ledger. Story 3. The Woman at the Window. Lan was a quiet girl who always sat by the window in class. Every time she looked outside, she saw a strange woman standing in the schoolyard, staring directly at her. The woman wore an old, tattered white dress, her skin pale and almost translucent. What frightened Lan the most was that the woman never blinked, never moved, just stood there motionless, gazing up at her. At first, Lan thought she was imagining it, but after seeing the woman every day for a week, she started to become truly scared. She told her friends and teachers, but no one else could see the woman. One day, the teacher even went outside to check, but the woman vanished the moment Lan tried to point her out. Lan became so unnerved that she could hardly concentrate in class. One afternoon, after everyone had left for the day, Lan decided to stay behind and watch from her usual spot. As the sky grew darker, she looked out the window once more. This time, the woman was standing right outside the window, her face almost pressed against the glass. She was smiling, but her eyes remained unblinking. Lan screamed in terror, and when the teachers rushed into the room, the woman had disappeared without a trace. From that day on, Lan refused to sit near the window. But even so, she always felt like someone, or something, was watching her from outside. Story 4. The Haunted School. This high school used to be a mental asylum in the 1950s before it was renovated into a school. Students often whispered about the eerie things that happened at night, claiming to hear strange moaning sounds and see shadows moving in the abandoned sections of the building. One night, a group of friends from my class decided to explore the school after hours, hoping to uncover the truth behind the rumors. As darkness fell, we sneaked into the main building. The hallways were long and silent, with only the dim glow of flickering lights to guide us. As we approached one of the old, supposedly haunted rooms, we heard faint, unsettling moaning from inside. Someone in the group suggested it was just the wind, but when we opened the door, there was only an empty room, except for an old swivel chair that was slowly turning as if someone had just been sitting in it. That was enough for us. We tried to leave, but to our horror, every exit was locked. The moaning grew louder, closer, filling the halls around us. As we stood frozen in fear, there was a loud bang from behind. The next thing I remember, we were outside, the school doors suddenly unlocked. The security guard found us the next morning, huddled together in the courtyard. No one could explain why we had been trapped inside. And there you have it, 4 chilling tales that remind us how close the unknown can be, even in places we think we know best. As you leave tonight, remember, some shadows are more than just tricks of the light, and some stories never truly end. Stay safe, stay curious, and until next time, sleep with one eye open.